They handed me a check with more zeros than I'd seen in my entire life. Her father slid it across the mahogany table in his study, his face a mixture of disgust and desperation. My wife sat beside him, 3 months pregnant, her eyes unable to meet mine. Her mother stood by the window, arms crossed, looking anywhere but at me. The deal was simple. Take the money, sign the divorce papers, disappear, and never speak about what happened. They wanted me gone before the baby arrived, before their family name got dragged through the mud, before anyone could connect the dots. I picked up the pen, looked at the check one more time, and smiled. Then I signed every page without reading a single word. That night, I boarded a plane and left the country. What they didn't know was that I'd been planning my exit long before they made their offer. And what none of us knew was that the truth was far more complicated than any of us imagined. If you want to know how this story ends, and trust me, you really do, hit that like button right now and subscribe to Vox's Stories. Because what happened next changed everything, and I mean everything. Stay with me until the end. This is one story you won't forget. Let me take you back to the beginning. I met my wife 6 years ago at a company event. She was beautiful, confident, came from money, the kind of family that had their name on buildings downtown. I was a middle-class guy, working hard, trying to build something for myself. When she showed interest in me, I couldn't believe my luck. We dated for a year, got married in a ceremony that cost more than my annual salary, and for a while, things seemed perfect. But perfection is usually just a mask covering something rotten underneath. The cracks started showing about 2 years into our marriage. She became distant, always on her phone, always having last-minute plans with friends I'd never met. I tried talking to her about it, but she'd brush me off, tell me I was being paranoid, that I was too insecure. Her family never really accepted me anyway. To them, I was the guy who wasn't good enough, who didn't come from the right background, who didn't understand their world. Family dinners were painful, full of subtle jabs and condescending questions about my career. I stayed because I loved her, or at least I loved the idea of who I thought she was. Then came the night everything fell apart. I came home early from a business trip, wanted to surprise her. The house was dark except for the light coming from our bedroom. I heard voices, laughter, sounds that made my stomach drop. I stood in the hallway for what felt like hours, but was probably only seconds, trying to process what I was hearing. When I finally pushed the door open, there they were. My wife and her colleague, someone she'd mentioned casually in passing, someone I'd never suspected. The look on her face wasn't guilt. It was annoyance, like I'd interrupted something inconvenient. I didn't yell. I didn't break things. I just turned around, grabbed my keys, and left. I drove to a hotel and sat in the darkroom, trying to figure out what to do next. The next morning, she called me crying, begging me to come home, saying it was a mistake, that it meant nothing. I asked her one question: how long? She went quiet. Then she admitted it had been going on for almost a year. A year of lies, a year of me being made a fool, a year of her family dinners where they looked down on me while their precious daughter was doing this behind my back. I told her I needed time to think. What I actually needed was information. I contacted a lawyer quietly, started documenting everything, started protecting myself. I knew her family had resources, connections, power. If this turned into a fight, I needed to be prepared. 2 weeks later, she dropped the bomb. She was pregnant. My first thought was maybe this could fix things. Maybe this was a sign we should try. Then she told me the truth. She didn't know if it was mine. Those words hung in the air like poison. She'd been with him without protection. She'd been with me without protection. And now there was a baby, and nobody knew whose it was. Before I could even process that, her family got involved. Her father called me to his office, the same place where he'd interviewed me before approving our marriage, like I was applying for a job. He didn't waste time with pleasantries. He told me his daughter had made a mistake, that young people sometimes do foolish things, but that their family had a reputation to protect. He said the other man was willing to step up, that he came from a good family, that he was a better match anyway. Then came the offer, a substantial amount of money in exchange for a quick, quiet divorce. No custody battle, no paternity test, no drama. Just disappear. I sat there listening to him talk about me like I was a problem to be solved, a stain to be removed. Her mother chimed in, talking about how this was best for everyone, how I could start fresh, how this money could change my life. My wife sat there silent, letting her parents negotiate my exit like I was a business deal gone bad. And something inside me just clicked. I realized I didn't want to fight for this. I didn't want to fight for a woman who betrayed me, for a family that never respected me, for a child that might not even be mine. I wanted out, and they were offering me a golden parachute. So I smiled. I picked up that pen, and I signed everything they put in front of me. They looked relieved, probably expecting more resistance. Her father shook my hand like we'd just closed a successful business transaction. Her mother actually smiled. My wife finally looked at me, and I saw something in her eyes, maybe regret, maybe relief. I didn't care anymore. I took the check, went home, packed 2 suitcases with everything that mattered, and booked a one-way ticket to Southeast Asia. By midnight, I was at the airport. By sunrise, I was halfway across the world. If you're still watching, drop a comment and let me know what you think so far. Would you have taken the money? And if you haven't subscribed to Vox's stories yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button because this story is about to get even crazier. I landed in a country where nobody knew me, where I could breathe without the weight of their judgment, where every day felt like a reset. I found a small apartment near the beach, nothing fancy, but it was mine. I started freelancing, using my skills to work remotely. The money they gave me sat in my account, untouched. I didn't need it yet, and honestly, I wasn't sure I wanted to use it. It felt dirty somehow, like accepting payment for my humiliation. But it was there, a safety net, a reminder that I'd walked away on my own terms. Weeks passed. I started sleeping better, eating better, even smiling again. I made friends with locals, learned some of the language, started exploring. I didn't check social media, didn't reach out to anyone from my old life. I was genuinely starting over. Then, about 2 months after I left, I got a message from an old friend back home. He said he thought I should know something. Apparently, my ex-wife and her lover were planning a big wedding. Her family was going all out, making it a major social event, announcing it in the papers, the whole show. She was about 5 months pregnant now, showing, and they were framing it as a beautiful love story, 2 people who found each other and were starting a family. I laughed when I read that. A love story. They were rewriting history, erasing me completely, turning their affair into some romantic fairy tale. My friend also mentioned something else. There were rumors, whispers at social gatherings. Some people knew the timeline didn't add up, knew she'd been married to me when she got pregnant, knew this wasn't as clean as they were pretending. But money and power have a way of controlling narratives, and her family had plenty of both. I was about to put my phone away, about to go back to my peaceful new life, when another message came through. This one was from a number I didn't recognize. It was brief. You might want to see this. Attached was a photo of a medical document. I zoomed in, trying to read it. It was a prenatal paternity test result. My hand started shaking as I read the details. The test had been done at a private clinic, probably at the family's insistence, probably to make sure everything was neat and tidy before the wedding. But the results were anything but neat. The baby wasn't his. According to the DNA test, the man she was about to marry, the man her family had chosen as the acceptable replacement, was not the biological father. My mind raced. If it wasn't his, then whose? Was it mine? Or was there someone else, another layer to this disaster that nobody knew about? The document didn't say. It only confirmed what the baby wasn't. I stared at that image for hours, trying to decide what to do with this information. Part of me wanted to send it to everyone, blow up their perfect narrative, watch their carefully constructed lies crumble. But another part of me, the part that had found peace in the past 2 months, didn't want to go back into that toxic world. I slept on it. The next morning, I woke up to dozens of messages. My phone was blowing up. Apparently, I wasn't the only one who'd received that document. Someone had leaked it, sent it to family members, friends, social circles, maybe even the media. The wedding plans were in chaos. Her family was scrambling, trying to control the damage, issuing statements about privacy violations and false information. But the truth was out, and it was spreading like wildfire. The man she was supposed to marry was furious, publicly calling off the engagement, saying he'd been lied to and manipulated. Her family's reputation, the thing they'd paid me to protect, was crumbling in real time. My phone rang. It was her father. I stared at the screen, debating whether to answer. Finally, I picked up. He didn't say hello. He just started yelling, accusing me of leaking the document, of sabotaging their family, of being vindictive and cruel. I let him finish, then calmly told him I had nothing to do with it. I'd been halfway around the world, living my life, not thinking about any of them. The silence on the other end was heavy. Then he asked me a question that caught me off guard. "Is the baby yours?" I told him the truth. I didn't know. We'd never done a paternity test. I'd signed away my rights before anyone thought to check. There was a long pause. Then he hung up. For those of you still watching, make sure you're subscribed to Vox's Stories and hit that notification bell. Share this video with someone who loves a good story because we just getting to the best part. Days later, I got another call, this time from a lawyer representing my ex-wife. They wanted to discuss the possibility of a paternity test. If the baby was mine, there were legal implications, financial responsibilities, custody questions. Everything I'd signed might not hold up if it turned out I was the biological father and had been coerced into giving up my rights under false pretenses. I told the lawyer I'd think about it. Honestly, I didn't know what I wanted. Did I want to be a father to a child born from betrayal? Did I want to be tied to these people for the next 18 years? Did I want to reopen wounds that were finally starting to heal? I talked to a local friend I'd made, an older man who ran a cafe near my apartment. He'd been through his own share of life drama. He listened to everything, then said something simple but profound. The question isn't what they want or what's fair. The question is what kind of man you want to be and what you can live with. That night, I made my decision. I agreed to the paternity test, but on my terms. I'd fly back, do the test, and get the results. If the child was mine, I'd be involved, not because I owed them anything, but because a child deserves to know their father. If the child wasn't mine, I'd walk away permanently, no lingering questions, no what-ifs. The flight back felt surreal. I'd left in the middle of the night like a fugitive. Now I was returning in broad daylight, holding all the cards. The test was scheduled at a neutral medical facility. When I walked in, she was already there, visibly pregnant now, looking tired and scared. We didn't speak. The procedure was quick, just a simple cheek swab for me and a blood draw for her. The doctor said results would take about a week. I stayed at a hotel, avoiding everyone, waiting. 6 days later, the call came. The doctor asked me to come in to discuss the results in person. My heart was pounding as I sat in his office. He opened the file and looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Then he said the words that changed everything again. "You are not the biological father." I felt a wave of emotions, relief, sadness, confusion. If it wasn't me and it wasn't him, then who? The doctor continued. "However, there's something else you should know. The test revealed something unusual. We ran additional markers because of some inconsistencies. It appears the biological father shares a significant genetic similarity with the other man who was tested previously." It took me a second to process what he was saying. Then it hit me. The biological father was related to her former fiancé, a brother, a cousin, someone from his family. The affair was even messier than anyone had realized. She hadn't just been with one man. She'd been involved with someone else from the same family, and nobody had known. The doctor handed me the full report. He said he was obligated to share this with all parties involved due to the legal nature of the tests. I walked out of that office feeling like I'd just witnessed a car crash in slow motion. This wasn't my problem anymore, but I knew the fallout was going to be nuclear. And I was right. Within 24 hours, the story exploded. The other family was in chaos, accusations flying, relationships destroyed. My ex-wife's family went into complete lockdown, refusing to comment publicly. She disappeared from social media entirely. The whole situation became a cautionary tale in their social circles, whispered about at parties, referenced in vague terms. As for me, I was free. Legally, emotionally, completely free. I flew back to my new life with a clear conscience and closure I didn't know I needed. The money they'd given me, I ended up donating half to a children's charity and used the other half to start a small business. I wanted to build something that was entirely mine, something that had nothing to do with them or that chapter of my life. Months passed. I heard through the grapevine that she'd had the baby, that her family was supporting her as a single mother, that the father, whoever he actually was, wasn't involved. I felt sorry for the child, born into such chaos, but I also knew it wasn't my responsibility to fix. I'd been given an out, twice actually, and I'd taken it both times. Some might judge me for that, say I should have fought harder or cared more. But here's the thing, you can't pour from an empty cup. That marriage, that family, that whole situation had drained me completely. Walking away wasn't giving up. It was choosing myself, choosing peace, choosing a future that wasn't built on lies and betrayal. A year after I left, I met someone new. Someone kind, honest, someone with no hidden agendas or family drama. We took things slow, built a foundation of trust and communication. I told her everything about my past, expecting her to run. Instead, she thanked me for being honest and said my past showed I knew my worth and was unafraid to start over. That's when I knew I'd truly moved on. I wasn't defined by what happened to me. I was defined by how I responded to it. If you've made it this far in the story, thank you for sticking with Vox's stories. Drop a comment below and tell me what you think. Was I right to walk away? Should I have handled things differently? And please, share this video with anyone who might need to hear it. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's building a better life and not looking back. Now here's what I learned from all of this, and I hope it helps someone out there who might be going through something similar. First, know your worth. When people show you who they really are, believe them the first time. I wasted time trying to make excuses for behavior that was inexcusable. Second, money can't fix betrayal. Her family thought they could pay me to disappear, and that would solve everything. But betrayal has consequences that money can't erase. Third, the truth always comes out. They tried to bury it, rewrite the story, control the narrative. But truth has a way of surfacing when you least expect it. And finally, starting over isn't failure. It's courage. It takes guts to walk away from the familiar, even when the familiar is toxic, and build something new. I still live abroad. I still run my business. I'm still with the woman I met, and we're talking about getting married next year. My life isn't perfect, nobody's is, but it's honest. It's mine, and it's built on a foundation of truth and self-respect. I don't regret signing those papers. I don't regret taking the money. I don't regret leaving, because all of it led me here, to a place where I'm genuinely happy, where I sleep well at night, where I'm not constantly looking over my shoulder or wondering when the next lie will surface. As for my ex-wife and her family, I don't keep tabs on them. I heard her father's business took a hit after the scandal, that their social standing never quite recovered. I heard she eventually moved to another city to escape the gossip. I hope she's doing okay, not for her sake, but for her child's sake. Kids don't choose the circumstances of their birth, and that baby deserves a chance at a good life despite everything. The man she was supposed to marry, I heard he eventually moved on too, married someone else, cut ties with whoever in his family was involved. The whole thing left scars on everyone it touched. But scars are just proof that you survived something, and sometimes survival is the greatest victory. I survived betrayal. I survived manipulation. I survived having my worth questioned and my dignity challenged. And I came out the other side stronger, wiser, and more certain of who I am and what I deserve. So if you're watching this and you're in a situation where you feel trapped, where you feel like you have no options, where people are telling you what you should accept or tolerate, I want you to hear this. You always have a choice. It might not be easy. It might be terrifying. It might mean walking away from everything you know. But you have a choice, and choosing yourself is never selfish. It's necessary. You can't live a full life if you constantly dimming your light to make other people comfortable. You can't build genuine happiness on a foundation of lies and compromise. Thank you for watching this story on Vox's Stories. If you enjoyed it, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you never miss a story. Comment below with your thoughts, your experiences, your advice for anyone going through something similar. And share this video, because you never know who might need to hear it today. Remember, your story isn't over just because one chapter ended badly. Sometimes the best chapters are the ones you write after you close a toxic book. I'll see you in the next story. Take care of yourself, know your worth, and never be afraid to start over.